This summer, some of the best athletes on the planet have been tearing their ACLs one after another. Rodrigo, Xavi Simons, Onana literally went down in the middle of the World Cup. Over in the WNBA, Sarah Ashley Barker just tore hers, Cameron Brink, Courtney Vandersloot, and the list keeps growing every single week. And most people are looking at this and calling it bad luck, a bad run, just how it goes. But it's not bad luck. And here is the part that should actually stop you in your tracks. Nearly 1 in 4 young athletes who tear an ACL and go back to sport will tear one again. 1 in 4 guys. And a lot of the time, it's not even the knee, they just spend a year fixing. So today, I'm going to tell you exactly who re-tears, why it happens, and how to make sure it's never you. Quick intro if you're new here. My name is Alan. I've been coaching for over 10 years now. And in that time, I've helped over 10,000 people come back from just about every knee injury you can imagine. And this is the ACE Podcast. Every week, I break down what actually works in knee rehab, the stuff most people never get told, backed by science, from someone who's lived it. So 1 in 4, let's get into why. Now, before I scare anyone off, I want to be clear. I'm not trying to scare you here. It's the exact opposite. Because almost everything I'm about to show you, the reasons people re-tear, is in your control. It's not fate. It's not genetics. It's not some people just have bad knees. It's a series of decisions. Some made by the athlete, some made by whoever's guiding their recovery. And when you understand them, you get to make different ones. By the end of this, you're going to understand re-injury better than most of the people who get cleared to play. I tore my ACL twice, so this isn't theory for me. I've been the statistic, and I've spent the last decade making sure the people I work with don't become one. So let's start with how big this problem actually is, because the number is worse than people realize. So let's talk about that 1 in 4. When researchers follow young athletes who tear their ACL, get it reconstructed, and go back to cutting, jumping, pivoting sports, the second ACL injury rate sits right around 23%. There is a well-known meta-analysis by Wiggins and colleagues that pulled this data, and that's roughly the number that comes out, nearly 1 in 4. Sit with that for a second. If you line up 4 young athletes who all successfully return to sport after an ACL reconstruction, statistically, one of them is going to go back under the knife. Now, most people assume a re-tear is this rare freak thing. Bad timing, wrong place, wrong time, unlucky. But a 1 in 4 rate isn't a freak event. That's not bad luck. That's a pattern, and patterns have causes, which means they can be predicted and prevented. And here is what makes this so relevant right now. Look at what's happening at the very top of sports this year. Look at the amount of players that just missed the World Cup. Rodrigo, Xavi Simons, Mohamed Salisu, Onana literally tore his ACL in the middle of the tournament. And it's not just football. The WNBA is going through its own ACL crisis right now. Sarah Ashley Barker went down, before her Cameron Brink, Courtney Vandersloot, and even more than that. Now think about who these people are. These are professional athletes. They have the best surgeons on earth, the best physios, full-time recovery, ice baths, machines, staff whose entire job is to keep them healthy. And it's still happening to them. So I want you to ask yourself a very honest question right now. If the best resourced athletes in the world, with the best medical teams, money that can buy everything, are tearing and re-tearing ACL at this rate, what do you think is happening to the average person? The 22-year-old who tore theirs playing Sunday League, who got handed a sheet of exercises, saw a physio for a few weeks and got told, you're good to go at 6 months. If the pros are struggling, the average person doesn't stand a chance unless they do this differently. And I know all of this not just because I've read the research or because I've rebuilt thousands of knees. I know it because I lived it. When I was 16, I tore my ACL and I did everything right. I went to a local clinic here in Brussels in Belgium. I showed up, I didn't miss sessions, I trusted them completely because why wouldn't I? They were the professionals. But here's what that rehab actually looked like. When I started, they didn't even load me. No strength work, none of it. It was ice, it was electrical stimulation, some balance drills, and that was pretty much it. No real strengthening, no testing. Nobody ever measured my quad. Nobody checked if one leg was weaker than the other one. Nobody ever watched me land or cut or decelerate. Not once. And then after 6 months, they cleared me. Don't even ask me how. To this day, I couldn't tell you what I passed because I didn't pass anything. There were no tests. 6 months came up on the calendar and I was ready. So I did what any 16-year-old would do. I went straight back to the sport I loved. And that's the moment it all became clear. Because the second I got back out there, back to real sport, real cutting, real landing, I realized what they had actually done. They had trained me to go back to life, to walk, to go up and down the stairs, to do the normal everyday stuff. But they never trained me to get back to sport. And those are two completely different things. And nobody told me that. First game back, I tore my ACL again. And I want you to hear the lesson in that. It wasn't that I was weak. It wasn't bad luck. It's that I was prepared for the wrong thing entirely and then sent back into a demand my knee never had been built for. Everything I'm about to tell you in the rest of this episode comes from that. From the version of me that did everything he was told and still ended up right back at the start. So let's get into it. And I want to start with a part almost nobody talks about because it completely changes how you should be training. Here it is. After you tear one ACL, the knee that's most likely to go next is often not the one you fixed, it's the other one. Your good knee. Let that land. You spent a year, sometimes more, rehabbing your surgical knee, rebuilding it, testing it, babying it. And meanwhile, the leg that's quietly walking toward the next tear is the one you never thought about, and the research backs this up. Paterno and colleagues followed athletes after ACL reconstruction and found the rate of injury to the opposite, uninvolved knee was as high, in some cases higher than re-tearing the reconstructed one. The healthy knee was not safe, it was the next target. So why does this happen? Because it doesn't make sense, right? The good knee never got hurt, it never had surgery. So why would it be the one that goes next? Two big reasons. The first one is offloading. After surgery, without even realizing it, you start protecting the surgical leg. You shift your weight to the good side. You stand on it more. You push off it more. You go up the stairs leading with it. For months, sometimes years. That good leg is now doing the work of two legs, taking more load, more impact, more stress. And you never trained it for that extra job. So now it's overworked and underprepared. The second reason is the one that actually matters, and I want you to hear this clearly. You didn't tear your ACL because your knee was weak. You tore it because of how you move. The vast majority of ACL injuries, around 70%, are non-contact. Nobody hits you. You landed, you planted, you cut, and the knee collapsed inward. That's a movement pattern. Your knee caving in, your hip not controlling your thigh bone, your body dumping force into the joint instead of absorbing it. And here's the thing about a movement pattern. It doesn't live in one knee. It lives in your nervous system and how your brain organizes your whole body. So when a surgeon rebuilds your ACL, they fix the ligament, but they have not fixed the way you move. That pattern is still there on both sides. The exact fall that blew out your first knee is sitting right there in your good knee, waiting for the wrong landing. And that's why the other knee goes. It was never actually a good knee. It was a knee with the same problem that just hadn't been exposed yet. And this completely reframes rehab. If you only rehab the surgical leg, you're solving half the problem and ignoring the half that's statistically more likely to hurt you next. So the real question becomes, who actually re-tears? What separates the 1 in 4 from the 3 who don't? Let's break down the actual drivers. And I want you to notice something as we go. Pay attention to how many of these are things you can change. Number 1, and this is a big one. People return on the calendar instead of on criteria. They come back because it's been 6 months, because the season has started, because they feel fine, not because they've proven their knee is ready. Sound familiar? That was me. There is a landmark study by Grindam and colleagues, the Delaware Oslo group, and they found something incredible. For every month athletes delay their return to sport up to about 9 months, the rate of re-injury dropped by roughly 51% per month. Coming back at 9 months instead of 6 wasn't a small difference. It dramatically cut the risk. And then there is this study who looked at professional athletes. The one who returned to sport without passing a set of objective discharge criteria were about 4 times more likely to suffer another ACL rupture. 4 times. Just for not meeting the standards before going back. So the number 1 driver of re-injury, going back too early without earning it, time and testing. Number 2, strength symmetry deficits, specifically your quad. Most people go back with a surgical leg that's still significantly weaker than the other side. The standard is you want to be within 90% of your other leg before you even think about return. Most people are nowhere near that, and they don't even know because nobody measured it. And remember what we said earlier? Both legs are often weak after ACL surgery. So if you're comparing your surgical leg to a good leg that's also lost strength, the real deficit is even bigger than it looks like on paper. Number 3, movement quality, how you land and cut. This is the paterno piece again. Poor neuromuscular control, that dynamic valgus, the knee caving in on landing, the inability to absorb and redirect force, that predicts second injury. You can be strong in a straight line, strong on a leg press, and still move like a liability the second you have to decelerate or change direction. Strength and movement are not the same thing. I will say that again. Being strong is not the same as moving well. Plenty of strong athletes re-tear because they never trained the actual skill of controlling their knee under speed and under chaos. Number 4, the mental side, psychological readiness. Fear changes how you move. An athlete who doesn't trust their knee moves differently. They're tense, they land stiff, they avoid loading it properly, and that altered movement is exactly what gets them hurt. The head and the knee are connected, and if the confidence isn't rebuilt, the body follows. And lastly, number 5, underloaded, underprepared rehab. This is the one that makes me angry, honestly, because it's exactly what happened to me. So many people go through rehab that stops at pain-free. They can walk, they can jog, the knee doesn't hurt, so they get discharged. But they were never trained to decelerate, never trained to cut, never exposed to anything unpredictable. So the very first time the game throws chaos at them, an awkward landing, a surprise change of direction, the knee meets a demand it was never prepared for. Now take a step back and look at that list. Returning too early, strength deficits, movement quality, confidence, under preparation. Every single one of those, we are able to change it. Everyone. This is not written in your genes. It's a preparation problem, which means it's a solvable problem. So let's flip it completely and let's talk about how you make sure you are not the 1 in 4. All right, 5 things. This is the game plan. 1, return on numbers, not on a date. Stop counting months and start passing tests. Real testing means quad strength symmetry, a proper hop test, and here is a detail most people miss. You need to test how you move side to side, not just straight ahead. Most return to sports testing only measures forward hops, and it completely misses the sideways deficits. And sideways is exactly where knees cave and tear. So test forward and lateral, and test your movements when you're tired, because that's when it falls apart. Number 2, treat 9 months as a floor, not a target, not a rule you rush towards. A minimum you have to earn with the numbers to back it up. Coming back at 9 months instead of 6 could cut your risk of re-injury dramatically. The research literally shows that. Number 3, train both legs like they are injured. Your good leg is your next injury, so it gets the same attention, the same strength work, the same movement work, the same standards. Stop treating like it's fine, because it still has the same fault that blew out the first one. Number 4, fix how you move, not just how strong you are. This is where most rehab ends and where real return to sport actually begins. You have to train landing, deceleration, cutting, reacting to things you didn't plan for. You have to teach the knee to absorb and redirect force under speed and under chaos, because that's what sport is. Strength gets you into the gym. This is what gets you back on the field and keeps you there. Number 5, rebuild the confidence, not just the knee. Graded exposure, proving to your brain that the knee can handle it, landing, cutting, contact in a controlled manner. This way, by the time you're back in a real game, your body isn't hesitating more, because a hesitant body is a vulnerable body. Do those 5 things and you stop leaving your recovery to luck. You take it back into your own hands, which is exactly where it should have been the whole time. So let me bring this all together. 3 things I want you to walk away with today. 1, re-injury isn't rare, and it isn't bad luck. It's nearly 1 in 4. It's a pattern with causes. Number 2, your other knee might actually be the bigger risk. So stop ignoring it. It was never a good knee. It just hadn't been tested yet. And lastly, number 3, almost every reason people re-tear is something you can control. The timing, the testing, the strength, the way you move, the confidence, None of it is fate. I tore my ACL twice. I know exactly what it feels like to do everything you were told, tick every box they gave you, and still end up right back at the start. That feeling is the reason I do this, so the next person doesn't have to. And that's who I want to talk to for a second before we finish. If you're going through this right now, if you're struggling with your ACL reconstruction, and you're scared of ending up back at square one, I want you to know it doesn't have to go that way. Over the last 10 years, I've helped more than 10,000 people get back to their sport, back on the floor playing with their kids, back to a life without pain, without bracing for it, without that fear sitting in the back of your mind. If that's what you want, there is a link in the description where you can book a call with me. We will look at where you are right now, how to get where you want to go together. And if this is not you, but you still love this podcast, make sure to subscribe, like this video. Every week I will break down the stuff your rehab skipped. And if you're in it right now, drop your month post-operation in the comments and tell me where you're at. I read and I answer. That's it for this one, guys. Take care of both of your knees, and I will see you next week.